Hello again. Hi, Gabriel. Hi, Nissan. Um, Jackie will be will be a party to this discussion. If you don't mind her young ears listening in on it. Of course, what we're going to do is come together out of loving concern for Jackie. I know that there was a lot of contention in your relationship, but what we've been able to do during caucus is discuss the kinds of values and interests that you have in Jackie and in seeing her do well in life. And we have talked about some options for her upbringing that we would like for you two to collectively share it with one another. Ben did an excellent job in bringing out certain detailed concerns that the two of you share. And I would like to get into those details with you so that we could come up with an agreement that will be written in a memorandum of understanding before you submit to court a settlement. I'm telling you all of this because even though I am not an attorney, I want to make sure that you know that there's legal implications to your custody decision, and it will be legally enforceable with that kind of impact on you in the future if any such discrepancy should arise. Will you please talk about, both of you have given me permission to discuss the details of your options, but I would like you to address one another, since we're calm, and talk about what kind of custody each of you seeks. Now, please keep in mind what it was that you discussed with us during the caucus, because you were very open with us, you were very trusting with us, and we're now asking you to shift that attitude towards your soon-to-be ex-spouse. Gabriel, will you please talk to us about what you discussed with Ben and I with regard to custody?
Absolutely. We mentioned it already. I think I was most happy with where she stays with me full time, and we'll be able to both make decisions on everything that all the major will equally decide on the major decisions in her life.
Yes, I'm hearing that you, Gabriel, had talked about seeking sole custody, physical residential custody primarily, but you're willing to share decision making within those three major spheres of education, religion, and medical decision making. We
Correct.
also discussed some of the details of what that would look like. Both of you have agreed to send Jackie to private school. I don't want to make assumptions. However, it seemed that Nissan was the one who was capable and willing to pay for the private school education. That can be part of a written agreement in the future if you so choose. Now, as for religion, both of you were open to uh, Jackie slowly developing into her faith practice. Um, however, there was an interest in sending Jackie to a yeshiva at some point in the future. Perhaps you could come to an agreement on that. As for holidays, you both stated, if you do not mind my sharing, that it was okay for you to share holiday time with her separately. We would need a little bit more information about what that would look like. There are so many holidays on the calendar. How would you like to split them up? We talked about extracurricular activities, and both of you are interested in the cultural enrichment of your child. But you just have to know that extracurricular activities do factor into how much time is available for parenting and who has the responsibility of picking up and dropping off the child. Um, Gabriel, would you tell me a little bit more about these things, about um, about paying for private school, about sending Jackie to yeshiva, about sharing holiday time with her separately, perhaps, and also picking her up and dropping her off from school and extracurricular activity.
So in terms of, what was the first one?
Well, the first issue, the first
Education.
scope of the decision making was with regard to education. Now, we do have mutual agreement here, but
Right.
I wanted you to tell me and tell Nissan what it was that you saw with regard to Jackie's private education.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. I believe that we both agree on sending her to private school, and this is something that we both want. Being that this is something that we both want, I think it is only fair that we split the tuition cost. Um,
Okay, okay. Thank you for sharing that. I want you to know that you have been heard, but you just introduced a new option that I want Nissan to be cognizant of, which is discussion of sharing the cost of tuition. So, Nissan, tell me what you think about that.
I mean, I wouldn't mind to share the tuition, but I don't know how Gabby could afford that.
that is
Yes.
not none of your concern.
Well, Gabriel, would you tell us a little bit more about that? Because Nissan expressed a concern about how you would pay for half of Jackie's tuition for private school, but
But
you seem unwilling to disclose where you would get that funding from.
I don't think that's an issue at this dispute. We both agree that it's a private school. Giving my word that I will come up with my half of the tuition. All he has to do is worry about his half.
Uh,
Nissan, would you be okay with um, Gabi's word on on this issue? The fact that he claims that he will pay for half the tuition. How do you feel about that?
Um, as long as we agree on the school, I'm financially, I don't believe it, but we'll see when it happens.
So, Gabriel, if we were to write up an agreement, a memorandum of understanding, the vow that you've made is that you will pay for half of the private school education, but you're saying that you can't tell us how you might do that.
Well, I have ways of doing it. I'll if I need to, I'll borrow money from my parents.
You'll
Um,
sleep around like you always.
Please let us refrain from personal attacks, and that is precisely the kind of problem that we were
we're
trying
not.
to navigate away from.
Right? Um, so there are many funds that help people pay for tuition that are for families who are unable to pay. So that is something I have considered. But if all my last resort is leaning on my parents, and my parents would never say no to me. There are many scholarships that she may be able to get. She's a brilliant young girl. I'm confident she will get one. But if in the event she does not, my parents will help me out, no questions asked.
And Nissan, what do you think of Gabriel's proposal that and please, in all seriousness, respond to this question that Gabriel will pay for half the tuition through borrowed money or support from family. We're talking about your daughter's education. Um, Gabriel made a suggestion here, but we want to reality test that suggestion. So let's say that the average bill for private school is about $15,000 per semester. I'm sure that the amount could be more depending on quality of school you send her to. But that means that Gabriel is promising that that Gabriel will pay $7,500 each term.
If we could get that in writing,
Well, we don't want to be so casual and dismissive about this serious area of concern here, and this is only one of many, because we also want to discuss later on the medical, but let us get to some kind of resolution on Jackie's private education. You are going to leave it up to the other to determine about how they will contribute. But this needs to be a decision that's reached mutually because it's going to have an impact on Jackie's life. For example, if one parent cannot come up with a tuition, Jackie may not be able to complete school. Nissan, you have talked about being the breadwinner and wanting to be the sole caretaker. Do you have any thoughts in that regard about how Jackie might get an education that the two of you have mutually agreed is good for her?
Well, I do have a private school in mind, and we discussed this earlier on. And if we're going to be sending her to that school, then I don't think there's any issues in that sense. I think the issues are more custody, and as I mentioned before, I think that I should have full custody, and that Gabby can come in as a babysitter, and I'll pay her $15 an hour, which is the minimum wage to babysit the child.
Okay, so there's a couple of issues there. You do have a private institution in mind that you wanted to send her to. We haven't yet discovered, we haven't yet determined together what are going to be the resources to pay for that education. But you have also raised another option, which is something that we did discuss. And now is the opportunity to hear from Gabby on what their thoughts are about this. You suggested that Gabby be a babysitter paid a $15 per hour wage to look after Jackie. Gabriel, would you please tell us about how that makes you feel and what you think about that suggestion?
I feel like that is belittling me, and you're making me a babysitter, not a mom. I I don't I want to be a mom. Babysitters don't
Okay,
care
so,
for
so,
baby
so let's
the way
just
the
say
mother.
you'll be the caretaker, mom, whatever you want to call it during the
This
day,
is why I say
and
that
you'll get paid for it.
this is why I say I should have full custody because of things like this. He obviously doesn't have time for her.
Yeah, but at night I have time for her, and during the day I could have a babysitter, and I'm willing to have you be
I'm
the
afraid that
babysitter slash
she's not gonna
caretaker.
be around for her third birthday with 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 the investigations you've been telling me about into your offshore bank accounts.
Would
Here
we
we go
please be
again with
able
the
to,
offshore bank accounts.
would we please be able to take a step back because now we're getting into an argument over, and it seems to kind of be a flippant argument, if you will allow me to call it that, over who takes care of the child and in what manner do we regard the caretaker. Gabriel has told us that being designated a babysitter is belittling. And do
Offensive.
you think, Nissan, that Gabriel has a point? Because, Gabriel helped to bring this child into the world, um, and also cares for Jackie at her tender years. Is it possible that you could see from Gabriel's perspective how how the designation babysitter could be a little degrading to someone who cares for their own child so much?
Yeah, I guess I could see that. So maybe we'll just say you could be the mother for the day, and I'll be the father for the night.
Okay. What do you think of that, Gabriel?
No, that does not sound appealing to me. What would sound more appealing to me is that I have full custody and we can make decisions together on every large decision in her life.
So when do I
Well,
get to see the child?
I'll give you visitation rights.
okay, so we seem to be locked in a positional negotiation about who has physical custody, but I would like to introduce something crucial here, and both of you have said that it's okay for me to discuss this. Both of you have said that you would be willing to share physical custody week by week of Jackie. Do you recall this in caucus conversation, Gabriel, Nissan, that both of you talked about dropping off and picking Jackie up from school? Now, I don't want to,
I do recall this statement, but you said that he doesn't have time during the day and he only has time during the night. So to me, it seems like he just wants visitation in the middle at the nighttime. That's what it seems like to me. Because he only has time at nighttime. And say, for example, she doesn't have school in the daytime. Where does she go then? Um, he's gonna have to go to work, and she doesn't have school. Where's she gonna stay? I think he just visitation for him is appropriate, considering that he doesn't have time.
Well, Gabriel, it seemed that Nissan has said that he would be okay with picking up Jackie from school.
How about dropping off?
So would that be an option for you to drop her off? I'm pretty sure we've spoken about that.
You would expect me to come to Nissan's house every day, pick her up and drop her off every day in the morning?
Well, listen, how would you feel about that?
I think that's why I think it's best she stays with me, and he'll come and he'll pick her up from school every night and drop her off by my house. If he wants to spend time with her, he can spend time with her like that. He mentioned himself he doesn't have time for this.
Nissan, how do you feel about that?
If we could work out me being able to see my daughter at nights, I think I'm fine with what it is, as long as the child is going to be in the same neighborhood as me and I don't have to travel too far. So if Gabby will have full custody, but I have visitation, unlimited visitation, especially at night, I think I could work around that. And in terms of school, I could pick up the child and spend the rest of the evenings, and maybe they could just sleep at Gabby's. But I obviously wouldn't pay that much money because you're going to have full custody, but I guess we could work that out as well.
See, the
Okay,
difference is that you're going to be having her at the times you're available to have her, regardless if you have full custody or sole custody or joint, whatever it is. You're only going to spend time with her that you have, meaning that even if you had joint custody with me, you would still be spending the same amount of time with her because you don't have that much time in your day.
but can I
Yeah,
make
but I have
sure,
authority over her.
that I understand what shared residential custody looks like? And I'm also raising the whole best interest of the child standard, because as far as I'm aware, most of the assets from our previous discussion belong to Nissan. Nissan has to pay Gabriel certain funds so that Gabriel can pay Gabriel's rent. We're now getting into those custody issues, and we we need to make sure that we understand what this looks like week after week for Jackie. So, would you be able to talk a little bit more about this, please? Nissan, I'm thinking that you might like to have something to say, because we discussed your house being sold. We discussed the rental payments. We're finally getting to the custody issue, and I would like you to spell out to me in clearer detail, so that I understand what to write in our memorandum of understanding, what this shared residential custody will look like. Or if it is shared, whether there's sole custody with visitation, on whose property, please.
So what it sounded like when I agreed to give me full custody with him having visitation, just 2 minutes ago I heard him agree to that he'll be happy to see her just in the night times and at times when he's available. So to me that sounds like visitation. Is that accurate, Nissan?
That's accurate, but I would like to hire a babysitter that I trust to stay with her during the daytime, because I want to know what's going on in that house, and I don't want random people coming into that house.
And then how do you feel about that, Gabriel, about
Absolutely.
Nissan?
I don't need a spy watching over everything I do. I'm her mom. Would you not trust me to spend time with my daughter? It's absurd.
Well, you should be happy that I'm even offering that. That is going to be help for you while you could go find a job and do something.
Well, and
It's
at times
sounding
when I'm
like
home,
it's
at times
sounding
when
like
I'm home,
you.
I don't need her watching over me.
Could,
If
could I
during the day,
please
sure.
could I please interject that it's sounding like
Sure.
the two of you are not willing to reach an agreement in good faith about who watches over the child physically at a residence day after day. Because your remark, Nissan, that Gabriel be a paid babysitter had offended Gabriel, and Gabriel seems to think that 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 he is competent to.
Yeah, but I think that we're past that. It's not about her being a babysitter anymore. It's about that Gabby's gonna have full custody, and I hire a babysitter to help Gabby while, you know, how are you gonna support yourself if you're not gonna have me supporting everything? I know I'll have to pay, child support, but that's not gonna be enough to cover all the bills. So you're gonna have to go to work. So you should be thankful that I'm even offering a babysitter. I don't even know why you would
Why-
say no to that.
At times where I need to go to work, sure, I'll accept that. But if I don't need to go to work, I don't want to have. If I'm at home, I don't need her there. I don't need somebody watching over my back and reporting everything to you.
Okay, I'm fine with that. It'll save me money. I don't care.
There you go.
Well, I think you do care, Nissan. I think you really do care. But you seem to still be holding some resentment against Gabriel that's making it a difficult time to completely spell out this agreement for what sole custody with visitation looks like. Would you like to be more physically present in Jackie's life, Nissan? Because we were headed in that direction, but things seem to have gotten a little bit derailed and confusing now.
Yes, I would like to have that. I would like to be able to have visitation at night from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock, as well as the weekends when when I'm home from work.
And when do you bring it back to me?
Well, after I'll bring him back on the weekends at 7 o'clock.
And how about the weekdays?
From the weekdays, I'll have her from 5 to 9.
She's a 2-year-old girl. She needs to sleep at 7.
Okay, so then I'll have her until 7 o'clock, and then when she grows up, then I'll have her later.
Sure.
So from
Okay.
5 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m., Nissan will be with Jackie after work, and Nissan and Jackie will be together during weekends, with Nissan bringing Jackie back to Gabriel on a Monday. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
Another thing that I want to address is the vacations. Um, I I just thought of a very fair proposal. He could agree, he could disagree. I'm not sure what he wants to do. I think it's very fair. I think, for example, the year 2021, up until June, I'll take her for every holiday in June 20 up till June 2021. After June, Nissan will take her for every holiday. In the year 2022, he will take her until June, and then I'll take her after June.
No, I'm more religious than you, and I don't trust her to be with you during those holidays. So I want all of the holidays, and you could have all of the American holidays.
So are you suggesting that you don't trust Gabriel to put together a good Hanukkah or Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur?
No, I don't. You could have Thanksgiving, you could have New Year's, you could have all those holidays. I get all the Jewish holidays.
Yeah, but you're
Gabriel,
forgetting.
how do you feel about that? About hearing that?
I don't agree with that because I'm Jewish also.
So
Yeah, but you're not as religious.
That's why I think it is fair
well,
that so holidays like Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and all these majority of these big holidays, they are they're multiple days. For example, Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. You could spend one day. I'll spend one day. But I think I gave a pretty fair offer when I said that one year he'll take half a year. The next year I'll take that same half. So we said we were going to come here in good faith to negotiate a deal. It doesn't seem like he wants to negotiate a deal. I think that is a very fair offer, and he just asking for too much.
okay, so
No.
we've heard Gabriel's proposal, which is that the two of you split holidays annually. But Nissan, you seem to think that you're more religious. I would like to ask both of you to think back on the holidays that you had shared together in the past. Do you remember celebrating the New Year together, celebrating the Festival of Lights? Do you remember what that was like for you together?
Yeah, I would be learning, and Gabby would be on the phone the whole time, not interested in what the holidays have to offer. So I don't want that environment from my child. That's why you could be on the phone all you want on New Year's. You could be on the phone all you want on Thanksgiving, but on the Jewish holidays, I think that I'll create the best environment for the child.
Gabriel, do you think that that's accurate, or would you like to respond?
Of opinion. I think I gave a very fair offer. If he refuses to agree on this, I think this is something we should tackle on at a later time.
So you agree upon this later.
Correct.
I'm going to have to write that with regard to vacations, the two of you agree to agree upon this later.
Yes, we'll speak to our community rabbi about it.
Okay, okay.
Rabbi Sarah Jessica, we're gonna talk to.
Another topic that we spoke about, Gabriel, you mentioned that with regards to vacations, you would be okay if it was your time to be with Jackie, and Nissan wanted to go on vacation, you'd be okay with a 1 month notice.
Right, I need notice. Notice is imperative.
Nissan, how do you feel about that?
I agree as long as it's in the country.
Okay, so for in the country vacations, as long as there's notice given, Nissan, you're okay with that. What about out of the country? Let's discuss that.
I don't want my daughter out of the country without me.
Can you elaborate a little bit as to why you feel that way?
Because if Gabby goes somewhere and doesn't want to come back, then I don't know how I'll be able to get my daughter back. So as of right now, I don't feel safe. Maybe a few years from now, but as of right now, I wouldn't want my daughter to be in another country without me.
Well,
All right,
I'm not an attorney. However, when we come up with a legally enforceable separation agreement, it implies the understanding that neither one of you can kidnap your own child. There must be some form of notice and agreement. Once again, I'm not an attorney, but I just wanted to handle that objection so that the two of you do not argue about that as a possibility, because I think that the two of you have to have some trust in one another. And also there are legal implications for just that kind of offense. Not, but we're trying to come up with a custody agreement. Neither one of you is to take the child from the other without some notice. There's no
I
kidnapping of your own child. It's just I just wanted to make that clear.
sure. Thank you for that, Jennifer.
You're
So,
very welcome.
I'll agree not to leave the country with my child unless I get permission from Nissan, and I'll agree to that if Nissan agrees to the same.
I agree to the same.
Wonderful, thank you. Each of you will give notice about taking the child out of the country for a vacation, of course.
Right, and we cannot leave the country without consent of the other party. Besides, notice we also want consent.
All right. Notice as well as consent. Now, we have a little bit of time to talk about finances. I hope that we could come to some sort of resolution insofar as finances are concerned. Is any of you are either of you claiming an interest, and of course I'm suggesting you, Gabriel, an interest in child support money?
Yes, I am.
Okay, we did discuss that in our last session. We did discuss child support money. Nissan was open about supporting the child financially. Do you still have that same view, Nissan, that you would support Jackie financially by
Yeah.
paying child support money?
Yes, and I think that we agreed to $5,000 a month.
$5,000 a month is what we agreed to. We saw
also
that
agreed
amount
to
as
the-
being necessary for Gabriel's maintenance, and also like Gabriel having the financial resources to take care of Jackie while she's with him. Are both of you willing to agree to that amount?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
willing to agree to the amount.
Well, I can tell you that what we've accomplished today is that we came up with an agreement on shared legal custody, but also sole residential custody for Gabriel with visitation rights to Nissan. Nissan would visit Jackie from 5 to 7 p.m. on weekdays and Jackie would stay with Nissan on the weekends, bringing Jackie back to Gabriel on Mondays. With regard to the holidays, especially religious holidays, the two of you agreed to agree upon that at a later date. We also have an understanding that Jackie is to go to school, a private school, which will come at the expense of both of you. Those details could be a part of a future agreement if you so choose. Now, as for vacation time, each of you wants notice and the consent of the other party if ever you want to take Jackie outside of the country or travel with her, because the two of you are interested in sharing the legal custody with Jackie staying primarily at Gabriel's residence.
That is correct.
And we have an understanding that $5,000 a month will suffice to take care of Gabriel, who is taking care of Jackie throughout the weekdays from morning until night.
Correct.
Yep.
I thank you so much for all the time that you put into this mediation session. I think that we did some wonderful work together, and I really look forward to drafting the memorandum of understanding that will go into your separation agreement. I thank you for putting your faith in me, and I think that we all did a great job. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you so much, Sandra.